Our first story for this video is submitted to Am I the A-hole subreddit and posted by user Emotional Fear. Am I the a-hole for wanting separation and co-parenting instead of working on my marriage? When my husband, 29M, and I, 27F, decided to have a kid, I thought we had a happy marriage and a financially stable future. My pregnancy was high risk, and with the health complications, I was going to end up using up a good chunk of my medical leave before the kid was born. So we together decided that I'd quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom for a few years, and then go back into the workforce. After our son was born, I had PPD and severe anxiety. I had complications in recovery and no help from family. I am LC from my family, and my mother-in-law had passed away, and father-in-law had no interest in helping. My husband expected me to be a full housewife as soon as we got home with the baby, and stopped helping with anything home or baby-related, because it was my job now. I was lucky to get involved with a mom's group that helped me a lot because otherwise I was very lonely and stressed. When our son was 10 months old, I saw some messages on my husband's phone indicating that he was having an affair. I don't know when it started, but a lot of his working late was because of that. At that time, my mental health was not good, and I became scared that he'd divorce me and take my baby. My reaction wasn't even anger at him. It was as if my love for him had disappeared and was replaced by abject fear. I didn't confront him, and he didn't realize that I knew. I ignored it and tried to deal with all my issues myself, while living in a constant fear of getting kicked out without my son. I know that wasn't a reasonable assumption, and I have rights, but I can't explain why my head was stuck in that mode back then. I moved into my son's room, separated myself from my husband, but kept on being a good stay-at-home. The sad thing is that he didn't even realize that I wasn't living in our room anymore. He got home-cooked meals, a clean house, and got to play with our son whenever he was home and didn't care about me at all. When our son was 2, I got a job and needed to put him in daycare. My husband was opposed to that because he liked how things were and wasn't willing to pay for it. I went ahead with getting employed, and the majority of my paycheck goes to pay for the daycare. The rest is my car payment and a very little bit for savings. Over the last few weeks, my husband has been home more and acting depressed, and I found out that his affair partner has dumped him. Now he's acting like the past 3 years were normal and wants intimacy and regular relations with me. I told him that our relationship was over when he stepped out of his marriage, and he can go start a different affair if the first one didn't pan out. He got angry about that and accused me of being a cold-hearted gold digger. He put me through agony and hell, and I am here because I love my son and want to be with him every day, not 50% of custody, so I am dealing, but he believes he's the wronged party here. I have become accustomed to the situation, and I'm okay with us living separately like roommates and raising our son. I don't care who he dates or loves or fucks. If things change down the line when my son is going to school and is less dependent on me, or if I fall in love with someone, then yeah, I'd file for divorce. If he wants a divorce, that's okay too. I have consulted with a divorce lawyer already, and I know I'll get half of the equity in our house, half of his 401k, and either child support or shared expenses into our son's needs. Living in this house with our son is more convenient for me right now. He is arguing that because I didn't say anything when I found out about the affair, I have no right to bring it up now that it is over. My parents agree with him and say that since I chose to ignore the affair, it has no bearing on our relationship now. My husband wants to go into marriage counseling, but I don't see a point to that. The only 2 options acceptable to me are the status quo as is now or divorce. Does that make me an a-hole? Major props to this mom for powering through a tough pregnancy, battling PPD and anxiety, all while dealing with her husband's affair. That's some superhero-level strength right there. Now, I can't help but feel a bit sympathetic for her decision to keep quiet about the affair initially. Fear can be a powerful motivator, and her concerns about losing custody over her son are understandable. Fast forward a bit, and the husband's affair falls apart. Suddenly, he wants to play happy family again. But hold up, dude. It's pretty clear the trust is shattered, and her feelings have taken a serious hit. Now, the big question, is she the a-hole for wanting to maintain the current living arrangement or opt for divorce? Honestly, I don't think so. She's been dealing with a lot, holding down the fort and looking out for her son. It's a tough situation, and if the status quo works for her right now, who are we to judge? Sure, the husband wants counseling, but sometimes certain breaches are just too deep. It's all about what works for her and her son. What do you guys think? Drop your opinions in the comments. User NervousT7074 said, "Why did his affair partner dump him? Was it because he liked having his cake and eating it too? As in, he got intercourse and whatever with his affair partner, but came home to a tidy house, cooked meal, wife and child, family man, imagine. So wasn't prepared to leave his image for his affair partner maybe? Still loved the fact he never apologized and took responsibility. For all those saying OP should divorce him, why? How long do you think it will be till he finds someone else? Least then he's likely to move out and leave OP in the house. The fact that OP seems happier and more confident living this way is probably eating her husband up inside. He knows she doesn't need him. His ego is so damaged. But just remember to keep evidence of the affairs, user Kanuli said, not the a-hole. You have every right to your feelings and actions. If he wants to divorce, let him. You are doing this in best interest for your child and your own capacities. Side note, when the therapist of my wife told us stories of other fathers, I thought she was exaggerating. But here you are with an exact example how some men are. Stay at home. Mom doesn't mean all the load and childcare emo. My wife does her best, and I do what I can when I'm there. And honestly, I don't have the time nor energy, let alone motivation, for an affair. That in itself shows how little he did, plus the affair. And with this, all his arguments are worthless. I came to every ultrasound, about half the therapy sessions, cooked and did the household while still working 100%, 2-3 of the pregnancy and 2 months after. Now my wife does more and more, but I still do a lot whenever I'm home, like cooking, feeding the baby, playing with the baby, also laundry, and depending on situations, whatever the mother of my child needs. That being said, not everyone has the same capacities and energy levels. So yes, a setup with a stay-at-home mom that does everything can work, but a partner who can't see what their beloved needs, plus the affair, will never work. So he can try to milk a dead cow or beat a dead horse, but none of this is your responsibility or problem really, user Mighty Mycroft said. Not the a-hole. That's not how it works. He wants to go to marriage counseling? Why? For what marriage? Dude checked the fuck out for 3 years and now he wants to pretend like nothing happened? Even if he hadn't been cheating, to be in a marriage, you have to be there. He literally ignored you for 3 years and he didn't even notice that you were gone. It also seems a bit weird of him to call you a gold digger when the only thing he ever actually pays for is the home and the kid. OP, to me it sounds like your real problem is with your job. And I don't mean that the problem is that you have one at all. You got a job and are only making enough money to pay someone else to do what you were doing before, raise your kids, and get a car. The problem isn't that you are trying to become more independent. That part is a good thing. Anything which increases your capacity for financial independence at this stage can only be a good thing. You work to earn the right to work. What exactly are you getting from this job? A car? You only use your car to go to work. Paying someone else to watch your kids? You were doing a better job of that yourself for free. You are literally living. The fine print. Look the song up if you haven't heard it. Banging tune. You will not regret it. It's like the song of our generation. For you to benefit from having a job, you need to be bringing in enough money that you are benefiting from it in some noticeable way. Right now, I just don't see how it's improved your life at all. You would probably be better off getting a divorce and living off the alimony to the best of your ability to go back to school. I know college is a pain, but if you weren't already doing some kind of college degree job, you could just spend a few months learning one of the trades. The demand in that industry is currently very high. Wages are getting better every day, and there's plenty of stuff that isn't hard to learn how to do. Most people aren't doing it because they've been conditioned to think it's beneath them. But that's just my 2 cents. Maybe the other Redditors have better advice. The comments' advice was incredibly helpful and filled with insights. Now, let's dive into the update. Update. Am I the a-hole for wanting separation and co-parenting instead of working on my marriage? We have been having nonstop arguments. I tried disengaging and gray rocking, but that didn't help. He swings between love bombing and being around all the time, to yelling and raging at me. I agreed to couples counseling with the goal of having a better co-parenting arrangement. He told the counselor he still wants the marriage to work out. We had some proper organized discussions, so that was useful. We were both asked to lay out our resentments. Mine was the years-long affair, obviously. I don't think anything beyond that needs to be said. But of course, there's the neglect, the lack of help, the absence from home, and that I have to pay for our son's daycare without any contribution from him. His list of resentments were a doozy. He says that I ruined his experience of becoming a father because I was difficult and neurotic. My painful pregnancy and medical complications were unnecessary drama to him. When we agreed that I'd be a stay-at-home mom till our son started school, he was envisioning a picture-perfect home with a beautiful wife and child who cater to him. He's upset the reality was nothing like that and is convinced that I tricked him. He's a selfish idiot, but he was also encouraged and enabled by people around him who talked this up, including my parents. I've always known that my parents didn't love me much, but I have come to realize that they resent me and look down on me. The first year of our son's life, he was a bit sickly, preemie, and had acid reflux, so was clingy to me. He resents me for that too. Now that son's a healthy toddler that can run around and throw ball, he's more interested in engaging with him. The whole thing was a pretty painful exercise for me. I restarted my own individual therapy. I had made myself numb to his actions. I grew up that way thanks to my neglectful parents, and was ignoring issues to focus on my son. But my husband did a good job of opening up all the scabs. I learned a lot more than I wanted to about his affair partner too. Now that I am physically recovered, lost a lot of weight, ironically from stress, and look well put together, I am good enough to be his partner again. Anyway, I filed for divorce. I think it'll take a year and then some for it to go through. I'll stay here and not move out till we sell the house and divide assets. Thanks for the update. Now, let's move on to the next story. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more stories. Now, the story is submitted to Surviving Infidelity subreddit posted by Spiritual Street 2793. Wife had an affair with our 22-year-old female babysitter. I'm 40, she's 35, and we have 2 young kids, 2 and 4. We hit a tough spot in our marriage last October, and she pulled away big time. She told me she's never been truly in love with me and never desired me sexually. For several months, I couldn't figure out what happened. Both sides of family were confused and said go to therapy to fix it. Last February, she admitted to hooking up with a guy in December, and that she's been in an emotional affair with our 22-year-old female babysitter, who is still in college. But I later found out it wasn't an emotional one. It was sexual. Since last October, I noticed huge changes in behavior. Buying clothes, change in music, getting waxed twice a month, changed her passwords, etc. She dyed her hair black, got a tattoo, and a nose ring. Her girlfriend grew up in the ghetto, so it's an odd pairing. Completely different backgrounds. When she was on vacation last March to visit her friend in Miami, I found out she brought her girlfriend along. While packing up to move out, I found her Apple Watch. When I picked it up, a message just popped up. I opened it and it read, "Please print my confirmation info for luggage." 15 minutes before that, my wife walked out the door and took an Uber to the airport Miami bound, but she was also going with her girlfriend. It took me an hour to scroll to the first message and discovered these two were texting lovey stuff since early November. They got tattoos of each other's first initial on their wrists. My wife went from listening to Florence and the Machines to 2C. It's wild stuff, but I'm chalking it up as a midlife crisis or maybe personality disorder. I filed for divorce. 7 months after update to ex-WW36F, who cheated on me with our 22F babysitter, our daycare worker. Divorce finalized 2 months ago. We divided all assets 50-50. Child custody is 50-50. She kept the house and has the GF living there, and has introduced the GF to her parents as her new partner when they visited a few weeks back. The reason why I know is because I was too curious and drove by one night, and the GF's car was parked there at midnight while her parents were staying there too. Talk about moving quickly. Co-parenting is fine, but she still texts me a lot about kid stuff. Last November, she'd texted me 24 of the 30 days. She came by a few weeks ago to grab something, and her dad got out of the car to meet me. I stuck out my hand and shook his. He seemed really embarrassed as he was reluctant to make eye contact. Then as I went back inside, he said, "It's good to see you. Life still sucks, but it does get better." I've not gotten back into dating because I feel it's best to take time off, heal, and recover. From what I've read, jumping into quick relationships is like taking antibiotics and alcohol. It won't kill you, but you'll walk away feet up. I never did tell her that I found her Apple Watch, and am aware of all the texting they did, and the dirty details of deceit. I'm taking that to the grave as it won't fix anything. I never shared those with her family either because they pretty much know what she is. Trash. A 40-year-old dealing with his wife's affair with the 22-year-old babysitter. That's not the kind of drama you encounter every day. First off, major kudos to this person for handling such a defining situation with grace. Discovering your spouse's secret life, complete with tattoos and a sudden change in taste. Fast forward to the divorce, and it's a wild ride. The 50-50 split, co-parenting, and the ex-wife introducing her new partner to her parents. The level of detail, from midnight stakeouts to awkward handshakes with the ex's dad, adds an unexpected layer of humor to this story. And the life lesson here? Well, taking time off from dating to heal is a solid move. The analogy about antibiotics and alcohol is surprisingly spot on. But hey, it's good to see the OP finding a silver lining in the midst of all this chaos. Life may still suck, but as they say, it gets better. Here's to hoping for brighter days ahead. Cheers to resilience and moving forward. Now let's move on to the comments. User status, Breadfruit Hunt 33 said, "Good for you. Congratulations on getting the divorce finalized. She is definitely a piece of work, and she will regret throwing away her marriage for some random flings once the excitement dies down, and realizes that most people aren't into serious relationships anymore, and that she is now a single mother of a young child. I will say, it's gonna be rough for you though, when you try to move on as the dating market is extremely toxic now. Hopefully you enjoy casual relationships. It's not for me, but still better than opening up to trust someone and being burned again." User Jokester316 said, "Good for you, OP. I remember your original post and commented then. You've done the right thing for you and your children. Concentrate on your healing. I understand your presumption about dating right after your divorce. For me, I didn't start feeling better about myself until I got back out in the dating world. I agree that now is not the time for another relationship. That doesn't mean you can't date. Have some fun, enjoy your new freedom. My self-esteem improved leaps and bounds after my first date. Just be honest. You're recently divorced. You aren't looking for a relationship at this time. You'd be surprised how many others are in the same position as yourself. The constant emails or texts will slow down. Don't respond if it's not child-related. If it's not an emergency, don't respond quickly either. Don't be at her beck and call. Once you start dating, it will burn her ass. She left you a long time ago, at least mentally. She's never thought about you moving on from her. In her fantasy, you are supposed to whine and cry for her. That way, if she changes her mind, you are the backup plan. When she realizes that's no longer an option for her, she will get upset. Keep living your best life. I divorced my ex-wife almost 30 years ago for infidelity. It took a few years, but I met my wife of 26 years after the divorce. My ex-wife has continued to check up on me all these years later. She even told my wife that she got to live the life she was supposed to have. Multiple homes, children that we put through college, vacations, etc. My wife's response to her was, "Thank you for making the choices that led to your divorce. Regret is real, just like the consequences of her decisions. Keep your head up. You're doing better than you give yourself credit for." User Rarebird4353 said, "Part of it gets better, and part of it just never ends. The co-parenting can be a chore, and it does open up avenues for them to fish for conversations. My ex contacts with meaningless contact about the kids a lot, then works to other topics. I tend to make fun of her dumbass choices, and she gets mad and leaves me alone for a while. Learn to laugh in there. It really does help." For some reason, clown exes don't like being called clowns. 3 years divorced and still not dating. Honestly, not worried about it. My teenage daughter tells me to date, but history shows I am attracted to crazy women, and I don't need any more bad choices. Ex will have a cow when I do date, which is hilarious. Now let's have a mood booster story. This story is submitted to Malicious Compliance subreddit, and it's posted by Wolfbane76. You can eat anchovies. Okay, working with the public is always a fun time. I truly believe everyone should have to deal with a Karen with a forced smile. It's a great lesson in tolerance and learning the limits of them. Now, I at the time have been a chef for about 8 years. I have built up a good thick skin at this point, so I can deal with the different breed of Karen you'd. However, see in my work environment, a tourist hotspot near the ocean, learning to deal with the unicorn of Karens, the entitled vacationing Mega Karen. VMK for short. Some of my co-workers, namely the younger summer job waitstaff, haven't developed the methods of tolerance yet. So with that lined up, let me get to the story. I was the sous chef of an outdoor terrace-style seafood restaurant by the sea that was also a seaside inn. On this day, a party of 5 came in. VMK with 4 others, I want to say friends. The entire time I could hear her complain that the waitress was slow service with slow. Everything was taking too long. We had a full house at the time. Anyway, after chowder bread and a shared appetizer, all of which, according to VMK, took forever to get to the table, it was time to order salads. Now it's at this point I can tell she has been there before, because she ordered the Caesar salad, but made a point to say hold the anchovies, because she was allergic. No, at this point I should say that. We serve our Caesar salad with 2 anchovies in an X on top of our dish. Now she had said this in such a harsh way that my little waitress was about in tears, and VMK seemed to be enjoying it. Her friends seemed to be used to he type of behavior. So it was here I decided to step in. I walked over, I'm my bright white chef coat, with the tall paper chef's hat, and spoke to Karen. "I'm sorry I couldn't help over here. Please let me personally handle your order. We take allergies very seriously. I will be out with your order in a few minutes." So I then stepped inside. Our salad station was indoors. I asked our salad chef to make a Caesar salad without dressing or garnish, the anchovies. While I stepped inside the storage room and took the label off the box, our dressing came in. 3 minutes after I stepped it inside, I came back out and placed a plate of romane lettuce with parmesan cheese and croutons. At first, VMK had that smug, victorious look on her face. That lasted about 30 seconds till she realized, loudly, "Where the frig is my dressing?" I asked for a Caesar salad. I equality as loud but calm. My voice carries like that. "But mom, you are allergic. I can't feed you something you are allergic to," she yelled, pointing her finger at me. I said, "I'm allergic to anchovies. I had your salad yesterday and you put anchovies on it. I just want my salad without anchovies. Now go make me one without it." I said, "But mom, it's right there in front of you. I have made you an anchovy-free salad. But from what you have just told me, I have good news for you. But let me confirm that you had my salad yesterday." "Yes. I just removed the portion that had the anchovies on it." It's at this point I realized I had the attention of the whole front end. I said, "Well, I have good news and bad news for you. The good is that you are not allergic to anchovies. And the bad is that I know this, because you ate some yesterday and are still fine." Putting my hand up to stop her protests, I said not as loudly but firmly, "Anchovies are one of the main ingredients to Caesar salad dressing." Reaching inside my pocket and pulling out the label, I pointed to the second ingredient, anchovy paste. To this day, I can close my eyes and see her go from red to white and back again. Her friends about fell out of their chairs laughing. Got a chuckle from a few other tables too. My little waitress got one hell of a tip from that table. Likely not from Karen, but her friends. As we finish this Reddit story, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing for more interesting Reddit tales. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to having you in the next video.